This is Silent Hill F. We're here on PlayStation 5 Pro. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. And this is Silent Hill F, PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced. The F stands for friendship, obviously. Now, anyways, this is the first new, I guess you would call it mainline entry in the Silent Hill franchise in quite a while, I think well over a decade. I mean, obviously, we were greeted by the return of, well, Silent Hill 2 not too long ago. And it's quite exciting to see this series return and to do something a little bit different with it. So this entry sends us to 1960s Japan, Hinako's secluded town of Ebisugaoka. I don't think that was totally wrong. The place has been consumed by a sudden fog, transforming her home into a nightmare. So this is very different from the other Silent Hill experiences that we've had in the past. The game sort of starts out with something that feels very much like Silent Hill, and then it kind of really veers off into its own vibe, which is quite interesting. Because it almost feels like a complete like spin-off to a degree, if that makes sense, because it's like thematically it fits Silent Hill, vibe-wise at the beginning it fits Silent Hill, and then it's just got some really, really bizarre stuff that I'll not spoil, I guess. It just gets really, really weird. And I know Silent Hill is a very disturbed, weird series, but this one really has some just like, huh? kind of stuff going on in it, and it's really, really weird. Still, I quite liked the experience. I thought it was well put together. It's got some spooky moments to it. It's got some unsettling foes. It's got some interesting gameplay mechanics. It's this neat sort of mix of, I guess you would say, tight kind of linear play, but yet a little bit of freedom, but not really. It's very, like, it's an open map to a degree as you kind of move through it, but it's linear in how you progress through it. Which probably sounds really silly, but like there is a little bit of, oh, you can kind of go and do this little side slight thing, but it's very linear and it reuses its spaces very effectively, which is interesting. And yeah, it's a pretty good experience. It's a pretty good game, pretty great experience actually. I quite liked it, and thematically it was very interesting, especially with what it was happening. I kept trying to guess what exactly it was going to do, and I kind of got it. And then, yeah, of course, the Silent Hill experiences, if you're not familiar with them, there's something where you play them and then you replay them and you get additional context, the story expands, there's more ending options, there's more things that can happen. So it's a game that lends itself to replay. And then, of course, there's different difficulty settings, too. So there's sort of like story, which is your normal, and you can set that for puzzles, and you can set that for action combat, too. So it can at times be a little difficult. And there were some spots where it kind of like sort of slows your progress down, like with certain enemies, and it's neat though. It really is, and I think they just kind of nailed the vibe and the unsettling creepiness for the most part, and just the way they do like some of the visual elements and some of the flowers of the world, and there's a lot of like subtle hints into things of like, what exactly is going on. I love how all my games chose to update as soon as I come here to do this review. That's hilarious. So, it's got creepy music, it's got a creepy environment, it's got a creepy vibe. It really does fit, the Silent Hill thing. So we're just going to skip ahead. And the fog monsters are coming. So, like I said, this is PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced. So it's got just one visual setting. It's just like blocked off. There's no preset. So in theory, they may add more down the road, but it's just like one default thing. And then language, I would recommend you kind of play maybe with the Japanese voice thing. I mean, it's sort of the default option. The dubbing, I think the main lead actress is pretty good, but some of the other voices are not ideal for the dubbing. Yeah. So just so that you are aware of that. Anyways, from a technical standpoint, this is obviously a Unreal Engine title. So this is, you know, we're going to be temporally scaling, and they are using Pisser here. So it's going to be outputting like a 4K, but internally it's like around 1080p-ish. Which, honestly, it does look pretty good and clean from a visual standpoint. Now, with the Pisser usage here, it does seem to be having some fuzz effects. I think it's not going to be terribly noticeable to most people because the game is very, like, foggy, if that makes sense. Like, it's very gray, it's very misty. So it sort of blends okay, but when you get to certain segments where, you know, it's sort of brighter out, and when you first kind of pick up on it, like really pick up on it, you'll go, oh yeah, that's not the best visual look. But like if you're just kind of playing, you're just sort of like not really thinking about it too much, you're just sort of like, oh, it's like a film grainy kind of visual effect and stuff. I don't think you'll really notice much at all, but like when it does sort of pop up for you and you first notice that, you're gonna kind of be like, oh, that's not, you know, that's not good. Yeah. So just so you are aware, and there's like HDR support, and yeah, it's 60 FPS, so it's like a lower temporal 1080p-ish at 60 FPS out to 4K, and yeah. Like, it runs fine. There are some frame drops when you're in, like, some of the heavy areas, like out in the mountains. I had some, and some in the town. Not really detrimental. The gameplay didn't pop up very often, but it was a thing, and then there'd be the odd stutter in the town, too, but for the most part, it does run fine, and it sounds good, and it looks relatively good. The character model here is actually quite fantastic. You really do get some excellent, like, emotion out of the character's face and stuff with some of the close-ups, and you know, it's all quite well done from that perspective. Painkillers. Good thing I have these red capsules. I sure hope there's no negative to using these things. Remember, guys, one red capsule will make all your pain go away. So, yeah, that's kind of the gameplay. And then I think we got the map, and then you can see the map is like a kind of a traditional Silent Hill thing where it like crosses off and it expands as you go through it. And you know, for the most part, everything made sense. Some of the puzzles I overthought, which was a problem. So, like, I didn't think they were necessarily too bad. Some of them I was a bit confused, but once I sort of figured it out, I was like, oh, okay, I was overthinking this. Which is, you know, it happens, it's fair. There are some really weird segments later on in the game, like I mentioned, as far as, like, I guess you would say combat in this ethereal dark place. That stuff was just bizarre. It was neat, but it didn't really feel like Silent Hill. And that's the thing where I really quite, like, it's sort of weird to me, this game, in the sense that, like, Silent Hill is very much like a place, and I guess Silent Hill is now a vibe. But the setting change. It's neat because you could put Silent Hill anywhere now, which I think is a good thing. You know, it opens up Silent Hill for all kinds of different experiences anywhere. But at the same time, there's just something about the vibe of that original, like, place, that original feeling, that setting, especially being in, you know, it was America and stuff. It's sort of what the vibe of the series is, and it does feel a bit different as you get further in this. You're like, huh. But like the creatures, they're pretty messed up and grotesque looking, as you can tell. There's a decent variety of them, but they do start to really reuse them as it goes on, especially towards the end. It definitely starts to feel like, you know, they're sort of reusing the same kind of creatures, and it starts to wear down a bit, but like for the most part it is they're well done. The game does have like a couple different things. So there's your health and your stamina, and then there's also like your sanity meter, but I didn't really find that the sanity meter did much of anything except for specific points, and then you collect all these items and you have to do inventory management. Because you can sort of like get rid of these items to get prayer points, and these prayer points with Emma's can improve your ability to survive, like more health or more stamina. It's quite neat. And like I mentioned, it all kind of plays into this interesting system. And the game itself is, I think it was like several hours, probably for most people it'll be 10 plus hours, especially if you're taking your time and working your way through it. Um, you know, it's quite neat, and there's a good amount of like unsettlingness and playing with your mind and puzzling, and not puzzle just as in puzzle of the, I guess you would say the game itself being like, oh, this is a puzzle you need to solve, but also the puzzle as in, you know, what is the narrative here? What is this game trying to say? And I thought that was pretty well done and pretty well hidden too. I mean, it kind of beats your head over it towards the end and becomes too obvious, but I, no, it is interesting the basically what they were trying to convey with this game. And it's just got some really nice twisted stuff in it, some good little jump scare bits. Yeah, it's a pretty well done continuation of Silent Hill. It's something where I sit here and I go, it would be nice to see this more regularly. A collection of Silent Hill experiences over time, more games like this. And I do ponder, is this key doesn't fit? Oh yeah, that's the wrong key. That's funny, I remember that. You know, it's sort of a question of like, do I really miss Silent Hill in the sense that it's been so long? Or do I miss, like, or would it not have mattered had Silent Hill continued to be, like, if it had kept putting out good games, if that makes sense, or worked on putting out better games instead of, like, sort of the decline it felt a little bit? Had we, you know, would it have been fine? Or is it just like, this is so much better because we've been waiting so long for a Silent Hill game, and, you know, getting these Silent Hill games is really exciting. I don't know. Just something I was kind of pondering and thinking about when it came to these experiences. But no, I really do think you can have a good time playing this game. I think the gameplay is pretty well done with it. It's quite messed up looking. I mean, it's right on brand with Silent Hill. It matches the styling of it quite well. I like the lead character quite a bit. The supported characters are interesting. At first, it seemed a bit like hard to keep up with who was who, but it made a lot of sense as you continued to play it, and things continued to fill out in the world. And yeah, just it provides a really immersive experience that I think you will really find to be rather intriguing. And it was certainly, well, it wasn't much of a wait, I guess, because we just got Silent Hill 2 remake. But yeah, if they could keep doing these like steady, interesting Silent Hill experiences, that would be excellent. But I'd also really love to see like a return to like the location of Silent Hill, if that makes sense too. But I like to see these almost spin-off type things. And the Japanese setting's very well done. I actually recognize some of the stuff you see in this game because it's the signature pipe. No, from like playing Ghostwire Tokyo, if you're familiar with that, I'm actually like semi more familiar with some of the cultural like sort of stuff, if that makes sense, the spiritual stuff, which is quite neat. And then like obviously, like I was mentioning, the game is really based around like replaying the game, so like there is obviously New Game Plus, and that will impact elements of things, and like it's really interesting because it seems like the remake of Silent Hill 2 was just like the template that the series is going to use to propel itself forward, and that's quite interesting. I think it's going to work really well for it, as it has here. So you get a good length experience. You know, you get some like cool twists and turns. You know, initially I was sort of worried of this leading too much into like sort of a Souls-like thing, but no, it's very much just on pace with what we had in Silent Hill 2 Remake, in case you were wondering. And it all just kind of like plays out really interestingly, and I loved the little bit of exploration, that little bit of sense of fear. You know, there's all these like twisted places. There's like, as I said, the messed up ethereal world, but there's also like these areas where you get into these puzzle things. You're not quite sure what's happening, what's real, what isn't, in this fog of the mind, some would say. And like there's an area with these scarecrows in the middle of the field, and the way they move, and the way these creatures move and the way all these things adjust and shift. And then the flowers and the growth of the flowers is like a triphobia or something like that, with the way the bubbles and stuff go on the bodies, and it's really, really neat and twisted, and it just has such a distinct visual aesthetic and styling and vibe and environment. It works out really well. And it's got some cool action type segments. It felt like it could have lingered on those a bit more, if that makes sense. Like, there's these abilities that you kind of get really late on, and you kind of use them, but you sort of don't. And I think it makes more sense when you kind of really get to the end of it, and you sort of replay it too, and there's more to it. And it's definitely one of those ones that I think it doesn't lend itself to limitless discussion. Like, it isn't very clear what they're trying to convey with this game, but I think it does lead itself to, when I was playing it, I was sort of like, you know, what is it trying to say? And you know, I was just thinking about it, which is really good. I like those types of games that make you think about what's going on. And they almost left, like, not enough kind of mystery too, because I was sort of like, oh, you know, like, I don't know. Just something I was thinking about, where I was sort of pondering these types of things and wondering that kind of stuff. But no, Silent Hill F, it was fun. In a twisted, dark kind of way. If that makes sense. Like, it was messed up and mysterious and full of, like, twists and turns of just, like, the most bizarreness. Like, it was such a weird thing. Did I not get this right? One sec here. You are supposed to be back over here, I think, and then what's the shape on this one? No, it's that one, and then there we go. See, a little bit of puzzle solving with a little bit of thing. I actually struggled with that one initially because I wasn't sure what it wanted me to do, but it's the item shapes on there kind of lead you to do stuff. And it's got, you know, the signature places that you would expect to go in a Silent Hill game. Like, it is weirdly ethereal. And it does reuse segments quite a bit. Definitely noticeable, like the content recycling. But I think that allowed them to craft something story-wise that was a little bit more ambitious than what would have been if they would have created, like, fresh environments for every scenario. Because it's a good amount of gameplay length, and then, of course, with it being Silent Hill, this is something you're going to replay and replay. Most likely, if you're really passionate about it, or you'll just play through it and get the regular, you know, sort of experience out of it. And it really comes down to the type of player you are and what you're hoping to achieve with it. But I think the psychological horror element is well done. I think the mystery and everything is handled in an exciting way. There's definitely some messed up stuff that happens. You will be left pretty satisfied, I think. Like, it's actually a pretty great game. It really is. There's one or two things where it's kind of like here or there, could have been improved upon, but I didn't really have many problems with it. Many issues with it. I thought it looked really good. I thought it played well for the most part. I was mostly just like, this is some messed up stuff happening. Some weird things here or there, especially in the ethereal realm. If you played the game, you know what I'm talking about. But they put together a pretty comprehensive package, and one that I think, as far as Silent Hill games go, will be pretty fondly looked upon going forward, if that makes sense. Like, I think it will genuinely be something that people are like, wow, this is really well done. This is really interesting. The characters are great. The setting is interesting. The messaging, it makes sense. You know, especially as it kind of reveals itself. It's kind of cool. But yeah, I do kind of miss that setting of Silent Hill, and I do miss a little bit more vagueness with its messaging, if that makes sense. Like, I guess the other games, it is pretty apparent, but it's also like the way they do it, I think, is a little bit more blended, whereas this one's a little bit more straightforward. But I think you'll enjoy it, and be sure to listen to the doll.